there's no better club in this area of the Midwest, and that's why I chose this club. I feel like that's why I feel like everyone should choose top tier.
There's a level of excellence that's expected by the coaching staff within top tier.
The goal then is still the goal today. Build competitive players that can compete at a high level, not just at younger teams, but you're giving them skills that translate to older ages.
Long time no see.
Seriously, it's great.
We are welcome in. We're back. We're live. I'm Patrick Flowers. I'm the director of Top Tier Las Vegas, and I'm joined by Brett Harrison, the West Coast supervisor at Prep Baseball. And this is an opportunity for everybody who might have a question for Brett about prep baseball events or collegiate recruiting as a whole to fire away and ask questions. I'll get us started, though. Brett, being a guy who played pro ball and who was drafted, we talk to guys a lot about their habits, and because everybody says, well, yeah, I want to play college baseball. I want to play pro baseball. But a lot of guys say it. There's a difference between saying it and backing it up with your actions. And I often tell guys that if you'd like to play baseball at a high level for a really long time, it simply has to be a lifestyle. What are your thoughts on that? And what's your advice for guys who want to play baseball for a really long time?
Absolutely. It's a great question. My biggest thing, it's a game of consistency, and the consistency goes even beyond just racking up hits or being effective on the mound. It's how you prepare. It's how you go about your business. It's a lot bigger deal, I think, than people realize. Doing stuff every day, making sure you're getting better every day, because there are guys everywhere, and it's really cliche, but there are guys everywhere that want it really bad. And if you're able to do something every day, whether it's the mental stuff, strength training, getting to the cages, playing some long toss, whatever it may be, being consistent, I think is really a huge deal. And it helps build consistency kind of throughout your game.
The recruiting landscape is constantly evolving, more so than ever over the last 3 to 5 years. Since from the time where you were involved in the recruiting as a player to the time now where you're involved in recruiting on the other end of the spectrum and getting guys seen, what has changed the most in the recruiting landscape?
The transfer portal has changed everything. Guys being able to shift schools multiple times, really hasn't, I would say, hurt the high school player. It's just made it more difficult to get recruited. You saw guys when I was going through this process, committing in 8th grade, committing as a freshman or a sophomore, and now these schools aren't allowed to talk to you until you're going into your junior year. The landscape overall, it is a lot more competitive, I believe. There's a lot more plug and play, I feel, type of kind of game going on compared to previously, where it was so much about development. Bring them in, get them in the system for a few years, develop them. By the time they're a junior, they're going to be a key contributor for us now. Now they need guys that can play right away, that can do things right away to help them win right away. It's not so much planning for the future, it's more planning for right now. And the high school player, I think, has taken the brunt of all of that. I think it's made junior college baseball extremely competitive. But you're just seeing, college baseball's gone to a completely other level. You got guys throwing 100 miles an hour in college. You got guys in the upper 90s. You got schools able to almost outbid pro teams for players to come to their school. And when all of that really gets involved, for the high school player, they're kind of somewhat put on the back burner. There's a lot of high school players still getting picked up, but your high-end guys are always going to get scooped up by big-time schools, by the mid-major programs. It's the middle-level guys that usually would have gone to those maybe mid-major or maybe even the lower-level D1s are now getting pushed possibly to the junior college level, and it's ultimately a situation of the cream rises to the top. There's so much talent in our state, in our region, and you're seeing baseball, I believe, now better than ever with the amount of talent, the amount of guys that are throwing 90 plus, the amount of guys that are really putting in the work to have success early on in college, because that's what guys are really looking for.
We talk a lot about divisions. Just in that conversation alone, you mentioned D1, mid-major, which is D1, but a different breed, different caliber of ball player. You mentioned
outside of the Power
JUCO.
Four, yeah.
Yeah, and we know we've got Division 2, 3, NAIA.
Yep.
Kids ask all the time, parents ask all the time, what's right for me or what is not right? You know, I think there's a bit of a taboo element to JUCO ball, but I think like you kind of highlighted there, now more than ever, it's a viable path, probably more viable path for a lot of dudes than having, you know, the aspiration to play at a D1 program as a freshman, as a true freshman.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you're right with this perception of junior college baseball being lesser baseball. I would encourage you to go out to a practice for the Vegas guys at CSN and see if ultimately you'd be able to hang with that group. It's a kind of a national powerhouse, really, that we have in our backyard here. And those guys are routinely pumping out Division I players, and it's not because of by default or whatever. It is they're producing high level talent both on the mound and in the field. They got guys pitching in the World Series that came out of their program. I mean, it is an extremely competitive level of baseball. And like I said, I encourage people to go out during the preseason, go out, catch a practice, and see a lot of these high-end guys, maybe who just didn't have a ton of success at the Division I level right away, maybe bounce back, or were later bloomer type players that are now catching their stride out there, and ultimately see if you think that is a maybe a, quote, lesser level of baseball. It is extremely talented, especially the new conference that CSN is in, the Arizona League. I'm a huge fan of what those guys do, and I'll be honest, when I was going through high school, I had almost that perception as well, but I was pleasantly surprised, I guess. Going out to CSN, we do scout days for them, and the amount of talent that they have on their roster that's playing against them. I mean, it is Division I talent that just needed to take a little bit of a different route to get there.
Yeah, I mean, for kids now watching, easy name pull, Bryce Harper came out of there and didn't go anywhere else. Just came straight out of the draft. So, I mean, and you look around the country at D1s or, you know, JUCOs, it's one of the biggest JUCOs in the country, and we have that right in our backyard. And for a state that really doesn't have a whole lot as far as things in our backyard, it's nice to have that there. Transfer portal is hot a topic in collegiate recruiting and collegiate sports as there is today outside of NIL. For guys that might be a D1 guy, whether it be Power 4 or mid-major, how does the transfer portal affect those guys? And I'm not talking about a guy who's a legit dude by his junior year who's, you know, going to be committed as soon as he can. I'm talking about the guy who is a little bit behind him, but has measurables and is getting looks from D1 schools. What is your advice or your take on how he might be affected by the transfer portal?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no real way to plan for guys getting picked up out of the transfer portal. If you're a player, I think it's extremely important to also do your homework on that program that you're looking to attend. See who they have coming in, be as transparent with the coaches as possible when you're going through this process, because they're going to be able to provide you more information than you'd probably ever be able to find online. But being able to see, okay, who does this group have coming into their program? Would I be a guy that can play early on? Are they saying I can play early on? Or is it something where it's maybe going to take a little bit of time for me to get settled into that level? But as far as the transfer portal goes, it's almost impossible to plan for that because stuff can happen on a whim. It's really a domino effect. If one guy leaves or gets pulled to another school, then it can open a spot. It just there's no real way to navigate it besides when you're going through this process initially, you have these schools that are interested in you. I think it's extremely important to do your homework, see maybe who they have currently coming in off that transfer portal, asking the coaches, hey, like at this point, what do you think my chances are of getting time this year? If I'm going to be behind guys, where do you ultimately see me? And what are things that I can do to, as I'm coming in or throughout my senior year to make sure that I'm as ready as possible to get there? Because that's the ultimate, I guess, differentiator is the portal guys. They're perceived as being more ready than you. They got a year under their belt or multiple years under their belt at the collegiate level, and you're coming out of high school. But if you're doing everything you can, and these guys are giving you a blueprint on this is what you need to do to be ready to play here, I think that's something guys can do to be proactive in this space.
You're a Vegas guy. I'm a Midwest guy, but you obviously have been all over as well from a recruiting standpoint, especially. I mean, All-American Games is probably the crown jewel of scouting
Absolutely.
events in the world, if not the country, at minimum. So you've seen baseball from all over the United States. What's the biggest separator between West Coast, Mountain West baseball versus South baseball in the South, baseball in the Midwest, the Northeast?
I mean, I there used to be the West Coast style of baseball. It was small ball. It was getting guys over. It was the old Cal State Fullerton mentality where it is grind out wins. You pitch, you play defense, and you win games 2-1. I think with baseball it's really such a small community. You're really only one person away from another person, I guess throughout the entire country. But the game as a whole is somewhat translated or transferred into a power and speed game. And the same thing goes on the mound. You want the guys who are lighting up the radar guns, who are spinning it like crazy. Those are the guys that are drawing a lot of attention, and it's kind of more of a universal kind of thing now. I think one thing you see in certain parts of the country is the multitude of players that are playing multiple sports. I think you see some pockets in the country where football is king and they're going to play football, then they're going to come play baseball. Those players are usually a little bit more physically advanced as far as just strength-wise, doing football strength lifting. But you have guys, I mean, baseball is such a melting pot of body types and attributes that it's not the end-all be-all, but you might see guys in these certain pockets, maybe in the South, that are a little bit more physically there early on compared to a guy in Idaho or a guy in Reno or Vegas that just needs a little bit more time to get it going, is usually a little bit more into the single sport mode.
That's the two-sport conversation is a good point or good topic to bring up because it's another question that always comes about from parents and players. And I guess the main question is always, when do I specialize? When do I pick a lane? And there might not be an actual answer, but just,
yeah.
I
mean, that's the $1 million question. It's something that I think people are really wanting to make sure they're giving themselves, their kids, the absolute best opportunity. And for some people, specializing early on is the way to go. Maybe they really never were interested in other sports, but you do see the coaches who are like, man, he's got kind of a football player's mentality. And I mean, you see it at University of Oregon. They have a guy that plays on the football team and plays on the baseball team or played on the baseball team. I think it just gives you another kind of level of competitiveness, kind of a cerebral type player that can also think multiple sports, can really do multiple things. I just think it's a value add for a player that can do both. But like I said, there's the tricky part where it's like, okay, I'm dedicating these months to football. When I shift back to baseball, am I going to be behind the first little bit? Do I need to get back up to speed, or are you hitting the whole time? I mean, it's there's no perfect answer for it, but I do think it's something that if we know a player is a multi-sport athlete, I do try to mention that whenever we are highlighting or posting on a player on our socials.
Yeah. So to that point, you'll also hear, you know, outside of the two sport thing, you'll hear guys say, I've got time. You hear that all the time. You've probably played with guys in high school where maybe their drive and their work ethic and their habits were a little bit different than yours. And people would ask him, what are you doing? And he would say, well, I've got time. I'm only 13. I'm only 14. I've got time. In reality, the runway is a lot shorter than they would like to believe. What's your response to a player that tells you, hey, I've got plenty of time. I'm not worried about it right now. I'll take care of it next year.
I mean, pertaining to our events and kind of what we do, I'm a big believer in building your resume as a player. I think coming out to an event early on, whether it's a Rising Stars or an ID, as a freshman, it gives you a really good baseline at where you're at as a player, how you're stacking up in your state, your region, nationally. You get to see objective numbers that are going to give you a really good path on where you ultimately need to progress in your game. And you're going to see areas that maybe you're excelling already in your game compared to your peers. And it's a great way for guys to see ultimately, like, okay, this is my dream school I want to go to. This is the shortstop that they currently have. I can go back to his prep baseball profile and I can see the numbers that he put up. And that might be the type of player that they're looking for at that position. I need to make sure my game is trending to be at that point when I'm getting to that recruiting kind of age, right, to that junior, senior year. I think being able to build your resume, stacking wins is something we use within the company. Being able to see, okay, as a freshman, I ran a 7.8 60. I was 74 across the infield, and my exit velo was 85. As a sophomore, I ran a 7.4. I was 82 across the infield, and my exit velo is 93. It's continuously progressing each year. It not only shows like, okay, he's putting in the work, he's developing, but it's also proving that you're doing a lot more on your own than just coming out and relying on your talent to do everything really for you. It's proving that, okay, this guy's really putting in the work. That's why it's so important we get video at these events, because you're able to see these guys physically getting bigger and stronger in each video that they do, that we do retrieve from them. And one of the new kind of features we have on the PBR Plus subscription, or Prep Baseball Plus subscription, is the ability for people to upload their own videos. I think that is an insane feature that we've never really had before, but it's going to allow you to show your progress videos in your profile to the over 1,000 college subscribers that we do have, college and pro. Being able to show your own progress beyond what we're able to retrieve at events, it's going to allow you to really self-promote beyond already what we do. So I just think the guys who are younger, it's a great way to assess if you're progressing, if you're doing all the right things to take your game to that next level, and ultimately be where you need to be when it comes to that recruiting period. And if you're trying to go to certain schools, hitting those benchmarks.
I saw that recently, and I do agree that that's really cool. The guys can put their own video in there now, do a little bit more to take accountability for their path. And for you guys, it makes their prep baseball profile more of a tool that they can use outside of the seasonal events with prep baseball.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot more interactive, and there's, I believe, more features to come down the line. But ultimately, we want this to be a spot where guys can go plug themselves. They can go highlight themselves, use their own videos to like I said, add to their profile, add their own flavor to it, rather than it being kind of so regimented by us. It's allowing guys to do more, which I think the more access coaches have to the players, the more video, the more constant they can see stuff coming in, it's only going to benefit the player.
Is communication on the radar at all? Two-way communication between players and coaches, and you have like apps like Field Level or NCSA and whatnot, but prep baseball's already in itself does a better job at hosting the tools and providing verified metrics, which those other apps don't. You have to put them in yourself. They're all user inputted, so which brings the question into play about the validity of them. I just kind of feel like, from an outsider's perspective, if there are going to be more additions to it, maybe a two-way communication feature might be something that would really increase the value there for users.
Absolutely. I mean, we do have a pretty significant amount of subscribers. I mean, almost every school that I've talked to has a subscription to the website where they're able to access all of this, all the metrics, all the advanced metrics, everything like that. I think that is possibly an incredible feature. We do have the players, when you add a player to your dashboard, you do have access to the player's phone number, email address, the parent's email address. And so these guys do have access and the ability to communicate with players, I guess, offline, personally, but being able to set up maybe a chat or an option to reach out to a coach personally, I think could be a very interesting feature.
So we've got a question from a player. What's the best way to stand out in a showcase?
Best way to stand out in a showcase, I mean, it's showing how in control of your game you are, I think is a huge deal. We hit on it a little bit earlier when we recorded earlier today, that the guys who have flow, the guys who are smooth throughout their game, the effort is not extremely high. Obviously, you want to have guys that have tempo in the game and all that, but you want guys that are going to make it look easy. And it doesn't mean, especially if you're a 13U guy, you're not usually, some are, but you're not going to be putting balls over the wall. You're not going to be a guy that's firing it across the infield in the low 90s. You're going to be a guy that we're looking more at the actions than anything. If your actions are there, if you're confident in your game, if you're able to really put together a solid effort, I guess, that is within your game, I just think that is extremely valuable. And I think that's an easy way for you to stand out at our events is showing off the easiness and the transition through the infield, the footwork, at the plate. You have a good idea of what you're trying to accomplish in this round. You're right. You're setting kind of a goal for yourself. You have a plan. I talked to the guys before, talked to each group before we go up, saying, hey, your first 2-3 swings, just get settled in. Get settled in, own this round. This is your round, and then show off your game. And the guys who are forcing it, the guys who are yanking, who are pulling the ball foul, who might be undersized and have a swing that is more of a power type swing, I guess. Maybe that's really not their game. They're trying to go outside of their game to show off well. I just think staying within your game, showing off fluid actions, showing off confident actions in each part is an absolute way to stand out.
I think our 13 guys are watching this before they get going in the weight room tonight. So just to clarify,
excellent.
A 13-year-old player should not be disappointed when they don't put the ball over the fence at a showcase at 13.
I would agree. There's very few that I think could do that. But ultimately we want to see maturity in the game. I think what we talked about earlier, guys who can do it today, tomorrow, the next 10 years with their actions. Their actions are simple, they're consistent, they're repeatable. Doing that, showing off those types of actions, for me, that's an extremely attractive player.
What are the steps to get players nationally ranked?
So for us, for a lot of our rankings, or for really all of our rankings, we hop on a call with Shooter Hunt. He's our VP, director of scouting for the entire company. He's the one who really puts together these national lists. And I mean, we have thousands and thousands of kids nationally that roll through events and are part of what we do. We're able to put players forward when it comes to, hey, I think this guy should be a national guy. These are my reasons why. These are the numbers he had. He was just out with us. He was able to put together a huge day. He's had a huge spring season, high school season. These summer events, we've been keeping up with him. The coach is saying his numbers are off the charts. We're able to go to Shooter with that information and make our case ultimately for these guys to be in that, whether it's top 200, 300, 400, 500, whatever it may be. The goal for me is always to have as many guys from my states, from Nevada, from Idaho, from Hawaii, in these national rankings, because I think it is such an honor to be in that kind of classification, to be notified or to be shown off, I guess, like that. It just, there's a lot, I guess, that Shooter has to go through to put these together. I mean, you got to imagine the amount of players he sees every year, but to get nationally ranked, I'm fighting for all my guys. I really want everyone to get in there. Ultimately, it's Shooter and the team at HQ that puts the national rankings together, though.
Let me ask you something, and you answer this to whatever degree you want to answer. But I know that there's plenty of people out there who have asked this question before. What is the difference between your rankings, Prep Baseball's rankings, and the process of getting ranked, whether it be locally in your state or nationally, versus other rankings that are out there? And I'll just leave it at that.
Our rankings, I mean, I'm here doing this with you. I think so much of our kind of bread and butter is the personable side of it. We're out at high school games where we try to be out at club tournaments. We're trying to be everywhere to prove really to people that we are the source when it comes to all things prep baseball in our states. As far as the national stuff, I don't really care for what other companies do. I know what we do. I know we have every state director has a ton of pride in the amount of time and effort we put into these rankings, talking to our other state directors. Hey, what do you got going here? What do you think of this? Right. We're bouncing stuff off of each other to ultimately put together the absolute best list and take any sort of additional elements out of it. Maybe we've known the kid for forever or whatever it may be, but trying to put together the most credible list possible each go around and highlighting the guys who've maybe made jumps, the guys who might still be uncommitted, guys who are players to know. I believe we ran that out for the 29 class.
Yep. The
50 freshmen to know. I mean, we're ultimately always trying to build our Rolodex of players. The notes that we have on these guys, it's considerable. I mean, the notes I have in my ranking sheets that I'm constantly adjusting and updating. I believe that we take a lot of pride in it, that we do everything we can to have as much credibility behind these rankings as possible, even if it means having to ask people in the baseball community, hey, what do you got on this guy? Hey, what do you think of him right here? And that might be an adjustment that we have to make in the rankings based on what a coach feels about maybe a player he has. Usually it's a positive thing. But I just think the time and effort that we do put into these rankings, it is significant. It looks like we just roll them out, but it is a multi-week process of building these. We use our notes from events to try to level guys up. The numbers obviously play a part in it, but the numbers aren't the end all be all. It is a portion of the game. And that's why for me, it's so important during the high school season. Like I said, we hit on that a little bit earlier, and to get out there and watch these guys and see how they act and play in game, because that is ultimately what guys want. Guys want winners, and guys want good baseball players. If you can hit the ball 110, but you have a really hard time catching up to velocity or hitting a breaking ball, then that's ultimately the equalizer. So for me, that's us being out and about, boots on the ground, really gives us, I hope, that credibility to the local groups.
I got one more for you in the queue here. This goes back to something you touched on a little bit earlier with the two-way athletes. One of the players asked, what's the best way to navigate being a two-way player at the prep level?
So the two-way player has pretty quickly become an extremely high value player. You've seen the roster limitations with the Division I levels. The players who have more to offer, being a two-way guy potentially, I just think that is a pretty incredible opportunity for these guys. My biggest thing is making sure you're taking care of your arm. Having a really good idea of not only when you're throwing your bullpens, but how you're playing catch, how you're resting, how you're recovering, having a plan with all of that. And if it's asking your club coach, if it's asking your high school coach, whoever it may be, to provide you with a plan saying, hey, I'm playing shortstop, but I'm also a pitcher. And we see that with Braden Jones in our 27 rankings that we just rolled out. He's committed to UCLA. He's going to pitch and hit. So you have guys that it's just, once you get to that high school level, I think there is a self-reliance that you have to make sure you're taking care of yourself, and you can't just throw a bullpen or throw in a game and go home and sit on the couch. There needs to be some proactive process for you to get your arm back to full health, playing a shortstop, managing the amount of throws you do before the game, between innings, all of that, while obviously staying loose and being ready to go in the game.
Awesome. Brett, again, I can't thank you enough for all your time. I know you got some family rolling in this weekend, and you've got some things to do here this evening. So I'm going to let you go, but I appreciate everything.
Appreciate
and I know that this will help people. There's one more popped in. You got time for one more?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. What are your recommendations for helping kids navigate the politics of high school baseball today?
I mean, that's a tougher one. I think high school baseball today, it's more competitive, I think, than ever. Obviously, the club scene is where a lot of, it seems, the recruiting has trended towards. But as far as the politics of high school baseball, there's really no clean way to absolutely navigate it. There's always going to be something that goes on. But what I think coaches try to preach, it might not come off right, but the parents, I believe, should understand, is that the coaches want to win. Ultimately, their job is to win. They want to win, and they're going to do whatever it takes to win, even if it means potentially benching a player or putting a guy in another spot. I just think that always needs to be the ultimate focus, is understanding this coach is trying to win, and it's not so much, oh, he took this guy out, he must not like him, or this or that. 99% of the time, I
livelihood.
Correct. I don't ever feel like it's that way. Same thing pretty much with our rankings. If a guy does shift back in the rankings, we don't hate the player. It just means that we feel a player may have progressed a little bit more and deserves to be higher in the rankings, which ultimately shifts certain guys back. So I think every coach wants their team to win. Their job is to win games and to develop players. And if it means having to sit a guy or whatever it may be, then ultimately that's what they have to do. I think there's politics in everything. And if you're a very good player and you're a good person, you're a good teammate, you're going to avoid the politics pretty much altogether. I do believe that.
Awesome. Appreciate you answering a toughie there to end it.
Of course.
I'm sure it's a question a lot of guys will get some value out of from there. Again, Thank you for everything, man. I appreciate it. We'll share everything will be coming out over the next few days for everybody who might have missed this or the recording earlier, but tons of good stuff. Brett Harrison, West Coast Supervisor, Prep Baseball. Appreciate you coming on. Everybody make sure you go get registered for your Prep Baseball events coming up in January here.
Awesome. Thank you, Patrick.